It's Misty here. Thank you so much for joining me for this long-awaited after the fast video. So I apologize for the tardiness of this video, but if you guys aren't familiar or you didn't watch the 21 days of my last fast, I basically put myself into an RA flare. So back in December during my 15-day fast, I realized that my Humira was causing my blood sugar to be elevated. So like an idiot, I stopped taking it. Don't do that. That's not smart. Don't be like me. Don't do that. So at the time I was so concerned about my blood sugar, but I didn't take into consideration the fact that inflammation also causes my blood sugars to be elevated. So I basically just shot myself in the foot because without taking the Humira, I put myself in an RA flare, and my inflammation markers basically doubled. So I'm dealing with a ton of inflammation, which has kept my blood sugars elevated. Not sure if you can see that, but that says 253. So yeah, it's been a really rough month. I have felt absolutely awful. Not only because of the inflammation, and I don't know if you guys are going to be able to tell just how swollen I am in comparison, especially since I don't have nails on. But this is my bad hand and my fingers are so swollen. My feet and my legs are swollen. I've been dealing with really bad RA fatigue, taking 3-4 hour naps during the day, sleeping 10 to 12 hours at night. And it's just been really, really rough. And I had intended to start a fast this past Monday, and we'll talk in a little bit about why I just threw that out the window. So I'm going to answer some questions. Most of these are what I got for the 15-day fast. After I finished that, I never did get around to doing that Q&A. There are a couple that are more specific to this fast, and then we'll talk about results, what's kind of happened since then, and what my plan is going forward. So Sabrina asked, why 21 days? And then Susan Wilson asked, why did I change my mind about fasting? So I'm going to kind of answer those together. So for those of you who've been with me for the past 3 or 4 years, you know that I've said from the beginning that intermittent fasting just isn't something that I've seen success with, and that is the God's honest truth. Before I started long-term fasting in October, I was doing intermittent fasting. I was basically eating 1 meal a day. I've been trying to eat intuitively, which for me means eating when my body says, hey, we need some food. I haven't prescribed to any kind of 16-8 in years. I've just been trying to eat when I was hungry. And at that point, before I did my first long-term fast, I was doing 1 meal a day. So the difference between long-term fasting and intermittent fasting is an eating window. So you either eat in this 8-hour windows and you fast for 16 hours. That's probably the most common. Maybe you do 2 meals a day, or 1 meal a day, or maybe you fast for 23 hours and then you eat for 1 hour. It's basically eating within a window. Long-term fasting, and more specifically for me, water fasting, is where you don't eat anything for a specific amount of time. I believe Keto Cricket is the one that brought it up, that Dr. Fung recommends diabetics fasting for like 40 hours in a week, something like that. You guys will have to go do your own research, but it is something that is prescribed to those of us who may be type 2 diabetics. It's definitely something that there's not a lot of information on. When you search YouTube, mostly when you look up fasting, you find things on like alternative day fasting, is where you eat one day, you're off one day, you eat one day, you're off one day. Some people do, I think they call them rolling 48s, where you eat for 2 days and then you don't eat for 2 days, which is like an alternative day fasting. And then there's what I've been doing, which is long-term water fasting. So I started my first fast back in the end of October. My goal was to do 72 hours, which is 3 days. And I think I ended up fasting like 113 hours or something that week. And when I say I don't eat anything, I mean I don't eat anything. And I don't have any type of water other than tap water. I did try to do some just like LaCroix or flavored carbonated water that didn't have any sweetener in it. Doesn't matter. Everything I tried brought my blood sugar up while I was fasting. So I basically had to stick with just plain filtered water. You could probably do carbonated water, but I don't enjoy the taste of carbonated water unless it has some kind of flavor with it. So I've just been drinking tap water. I did try coffee for a couple of days. The issue is I can't do black coffee. I just can't. I would rather just go without coffee. I'm not that hardcore of a coffee drinker. But I also heard Dr. Fung say that you could get away with like a teaspoon of butter and maybe a teaspoon of, a little heavy cream wouldn't bother you. So I tried that twice and it wasn't something that I wanted to do. So intermittent fasting wasn't working. My blood sugars were elevated. At the time, I didn't realize the Humira was causing it, but also, it could have been a couple of other factors too. I just don't know because my body goes through it, right? I have myasthenia gravis for those of you who maybe knew. I have rheumatoid arthritis for those of you who maybe knew. Type 2 diabetic. So I am not in good health, and I'm trying to, figure out the best way to keep myself off insulin, etc. So I knew going forward that I needed to take away my body's insulin response. Like I needed to make sure that my body wasn't having any kind of insulin response. So that meant nothing in my system other than water. And the reason why I started this was because I wanted to get my blood sugars under control. So a lot of people on this are going to comment on this video, just take insulin. Why aren't you just taking medication? I encourage you to go watch some of Dr. Ekberg's videos where people really explain what insulin resistance really is and why injecting insulin into a body that already has way too much insulin and isn't using it correctly is just putting a band-aid on a gunshot wound. And I know you guys are probably ready for another analogy, but that is the best one I can come up with. It's making things worse. It's not helping. It's making things worse. Is it lowering the glucose? Yeah, but the glucose is a symptom. The glucose is not the issue. The issue is the insulin. Insulin makes you gain weight. I gained, 80 pounds when I went back on insulin? Because it's a fat storing hormone. So when you're adding more and more insulin on top of what your body's already making, it's not a solution. It's an issue. And it's completely different than someone who is type 1 who needs insulin to live because your pancreas doesn't produce it at all. Mine is producing it. I had the C-peptide test. I had my fasting insulin tested back in December. All of my numbers were fine. So I am still dealing with insulin resistance. I am not dealing with LADA, which is latent adult autoimmune diabetes. Or diabetes, I don't know, autoimmune diabetes. My pancreas is still cranking stuff out. I'm dealing with insulin resistance. So hopefully continuing fasting, getting my inflammation markers under control. Like if I can just get my body to play nice, then I think this will all work out. So that's really why I started long-term fasting, was because I wanted to make sure that my body didn't have an insulin response and my numbers could come down. The issue was those few hours a week just wasn't cutting it. So that's when I did my first 7-day fast. And I fasted, I think I started the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So I started on Wednesday, Thanksgiving was on Thursday, and I went till the following Thursday. The issue was just a couple of days later, my blood sugars were back up in the 200s. And again, this is before I realized that the Humira was part of the issue. So in December, I just started to fast till Santa. So I did a 15-day fast starting December 10th all the way to Christmas Day. And there, it was like the 20th or the 21st. I woke up that morning, my blood sugar was 103. I took my Humira dose and I was over 200 in about 15 or 20 minutes. And that's when I made the decision, which was stupid, to stop. So I kept increasing the number of days, hoping that at some point my blood sugar would level out. So that was why I picked 21 days. I'm like, okay, so 15 days, I saw some results. The Humira messed it up, so now I'm not taking the Humira. Hopefully things will work out well. They didn't. Spoiler alert. My blood sugars didn't come down, but I had success with other things. But my thought process was, it would probably take, 10 to 14 days for my blood sugars to get down to where they were around, hovering low 100s, even mid 100s, I would have been fine with. And that would give me an extra week for the blood sugars to be level. And again, of course, that's just not what worked out for that fast. So that's why 21 days. And that's why I went ahead and decided to start fasting when I had said that I wouldn't. And I never even thought about long-term fasting until I started doing some research and just decided that I had to stop the insulin response. And the only way to stop the insulin response and to put yourself into deep ketosis is to stop eating. So water fasting, it isn't for everyone. If you guys want a video, I've mentioned that I don't mind filming a video talking about how I fasted and how I was able to do 21 days, etc. I owe all of my success this last fast to being fat adapted, 100%. And because that was a question, hunger. I didn't have any this last time. Like, I maybe had 1 or 2 days where I felt physical hunger. But the other 19 days, I just wasn't hungry. But I can film a video and talk about kind of my tips and tricks and how I've done it. I am not a medical professional. I'm just some fat girl on the internet who's trying to figure her body out and figure out what works for me. So make sure that if you're going to fast, that you have your doctor's support. I talked to my doctor about it. He said, keep going. My rheumatologist knew about it. All of the people who are responsible for my care in this moment in time know that I have been long-term fasting. So that's why I started fasting again, is to stop having an insulin response and hopefully have my blood sugars come down. And then the 21 days is because I was thinking that that would give my body plenty of time for the numbers to come down and to, be level for a week. It didn't work out quite that way, but yeah, it is what it is. So I got several questions about binging and what my goal, what my plan was for starting to refeed so I didn't binge. Tammy from Keto and the Chaos is one of the ones who asked that question. What was your plan to avoid fasting-induced binging? Were you ever concerned that restricting for a long time might trigger a binge? No, that's the short answer. I had done, you guys, I can't tell you how many hours of videos I've watched, how many articles I've read, what I've just gleaned from people who have done this type of fasting. I mentioned before that I found refeeding syndrome and how that is a real thing that can really tear you up, cause disaster pants, is that what people call it? The first time I heard that, I'm like, what are you talking about? But yeah, and my first refeed, I did binge and I felt awful. And I wasn't binging on bad food. It's not like I had, tacos with tortillas or something like that. I had just a huge taco salad, but I ate too much too quickly and it made me so sick. So I knew going forward, especially after that 15-day fast, that after a 21-day fast, that there's no way I would be able to eat a lot or even eat that quickly. So if you watch any of my refeeding videos for this 21-day fast, I actually refed quicker than I thought I would. I thought I would stay on bone broth and eggs for a few days, but luckily that just wasn't the case. But the only time I felt like binging was actually this week. I'm a week and a half out from the end of the fast, but I'll talk about that more in just a little bit. So yeah, and I think also, again, being fat adapted, because in my 15-day fast, by day 13, I was like, I'm hungry. I want some food right now. But again, being fat adapted, and I think being in ketosis for so long, my body I just didn't experience physical hunger. And that isn't going to be the same for everybody. And it may not even be the same for when I start fasting again. My body I may no longer be fat adapted. I don't know. I won't know until I restrict my eating again. But luckily, I knew how awful I felt. And plus, you shrink your stomach. I mean, my stomach shrank so much that even just having a handful of nuts made me so full. Having 3 eggs that first time, I felt like I'd eaten a 15-ounce ribeye. So your body, your stomach shrinks. So it almost makes it impossible, unless you're a fan of throwing up. I'm not. I will do whatever I can in all of my power not to do that. So binge eating just wasn't an issue. I think what's also helped is that, you're not eating for 21 days. Food is everywhere. Food's all over TV. Food is in books. You don't realize how much food is in books until you haven't been eating. And I had to, food could no longer be a crutch for me when it comes to handling stress, handling, whatever. So I've had to find other methods to other coping mechanisms other than food to help me get through things that are happening in my life. So I think that also helped a whole bunch. I also found during this last fast that when I was craving food, when I wanted something to eat, it was low carb keto food. Like I wanted cauliflower potato salad. I literally just fixed another week of it last night because it's just so good. I wanted low carbs pigs in a blanket. So I made low carb pigs in a blanket. Like before I was like, I want rolled tacos and cheese sticks, and I didn't have those kind of carby cravings this time. And the only thing that I wanted that would have been not on plan was Kentucky Fried Chicken. They're extra crispy. I just wanted the skin. That's all I wanted. And I know you can buy chicken skin, etc. But just talking about, any kind of craving that I had that wasn't, keto or low carb, that was literally it. That was it. So yeah, I didn't worry about binging this last time. I don't worry about binging going forward. Like I said, I will do everything in my power not to throw up. And I know that if I try to eat too much too fast, I'm going to throw up. And I don't want to. So I have no desire to binge. Maggie Murphy said, did you feel that your myasthenia symptoms decreased any during the fast, or any symptoms like my rheumatoid arthritis, my pain, energy level, etc.? My myasthenia got worse. I haven't actually had a chance to sit down and find the correlation between increased ketones and muscles. I want to say I've heard in the past that the higher your ketones, like there's something going on in your musculature. Is that how you say it? Musculature, whatever. I found that the higher my ketones got, the weaker my arms and legs got a little quicker in the day. So, and I'm going to film a myasthenia gravis video. I'm not sure when that will happen, but it is something that I'm going to film because there's so many of you guys that follow me and you just don't understand it. So when you make suggestions like exercising and those kinds of things, those things aren't helpful to me because it's not something that I can physically do. But the long and short of it is myasthenia gravis is a neuromuscular junction disorder. So where your nerves and your muscles talk, my body is attacking that juncture. So that synapses is disturbed or whatever the body is doing to it. With the myasthenia, it causes muscle weakness. So all of the energy I have for the day is at the beginning of the day. And as my day goes on, I get weak. My arms get weak. My legs get weak. My eyes get weak. If I can remember, I'll try to pop up a screenshot of what I like because I'm a huge reader and I use the Kindle app on my phone. And there's a difference between what my eyes start out being able to see like in the morning and then by like 9 p.m. where I've had to put the letters as the font as large as it can go with my glasses on so I can see something. And that is 100% due to the myasthenia. So as far as the myasthenia goes, I feel like the higher my ketones get, the worse my weakness gets. For the inflammation, I honestly think that fasting helps. I don't think that I would have felt, don't get me wrong, I felt absolutely awful, but I think I would have been 100 times worse if I wasn't fasting. Because fasting is the ultimate anti-inflammatory diet. Like, you remove everything. You remove everything. So there's physically nothing that I'm eating that can cause any kind of inflammation. And again, I think if I wasn't fasting, I probably would have had way more pain and way more issues than I did. Energy level, absolutely. I felt like I had a ton of energy. The issue was I didn't have the mobility to go along with it. So if you are someone who doesn't deal with all these different health issues and you're fasting for this long, you may have a huge burst of energy because that's what ketones are. That's your energy source. So once you start moving from burning carbs to burning ketones, then you're going to have all this much energy. There were times where I would sleep for like 4 or 5 hours overnight and it felt like I had 10,000 gallons of caffeine. It felt like I could keep going like the Energizer Bunny. My body couldn't physically do it, but I had the energy, like the energy was there. My pain level, I don't know that I saw a difference, and I think that's more because the back and the neck pain is not from swelling or inflammation. That's because I have the OPLL. So you guys are just learning everything. So I have this disease called OPLL, and it's the ossification of the posterior longitudinal ligaments. I literally just had to teach the nurse practitioner for pain management what this is. So I have spinal stenosis, where your spinal canal, where your spinal cord lives, is narrow. It's really small. The OPLL causes the ligaments in my spinal canal with my spinal cord to calcify, which basically they're turning to bone. So my spinal cord is being smushed in my spinal canal. It causes severe nerve pain. It causes all sorts of issues. I am going to end up having a rhizotomy in my neck and a rhizotomy probably in my lower back at some point over the next few months. But that's not caused by any kind of inflammation. That is just what I'm living with because of this disease. So that, in a sense, that pain level wasn't affected. But the pain and the swelling from the rheumatoid arthritis, I felt like got better. The myasthenia, I definitely felt like the weakness was getting worse. And like I said, I feel like I've read something where there's a correlation between elevated ketones and something to do with your muscle system. I'll have to look that up. Don't quote me. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm just some fat girl on the internet trying to figure shit out. Excuse me. I need something to drink. So Shell asked, how was your sleep during the night? Was there any differences? Did you nap more? Did you feel rested? I kind of spoke about this. I had nights where I would sleep, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours and felt 100% fine. And there were days I was so tired because of the RA fatigue where I would sleep so very much. So it really just depended. And again, if you're someone who's healthy and you're not dealing with autoimmune diseases, you may not have any issues with your sleep whatsoever. There were a couple of days that I took a nap just because I was hungry and I was like, I'm not eating. So the only way to really get my mind off of it was to take a nap. But again, I had a ton of energy. I just didn't have the mobility to go along with it. And I never felt like I didn't get enough sleep. I slept until I woke up and I didn't try to force it or anything like that. If I took a nap, it was because I felt really tired or I was really, really cold, which tends to happen. So I don't know that it wasn't any kind of thing where I felt like I wasn't getting what I needed, so to speak. So Marty Wallace asked, how did you get over the physiological hunger? That's what gets me every time that I feel like such a loser. Number one, don't feel like a loser. Rome wasn't built in a day, right? So you have to celebrate the little successes that you have. And I've mentioned this in the past. You really have to be in the right mental headspace to fast. That's why I didn't start fasting this week. I had a little mini breakdown on Monday because I literally gained almost all of the weight that I lost on my fast back because of water retention. And it was just and my blood sugar was like 280. So it was like, okay, my blood sugar's not down and my weight is way back up. And I was like, I can't fast today. I can't fast today. There's no way I can fast. I knew that if I fasted, I was going to end up binging. And I didn't want that to happen either. So you really have to be in the right mental headspace. And again, food is everywhere. It's all over the TV. It's in every single book. Every time I turned around, they were having pancakes for breakfast or they were having meatloaf and mashed potatoes. And it was like, oh my gosh, do we have to eat in every single book? Do we have to? So again, I think for this 21-day fast, being fat adapted really, really did help. And for the 15-day fast, it was just about powering through. And if I got hungry and I felt like I couldn't control it, I would go take a nap. Or staying busy helps. I can't give you any kind of advice on if you are someone who works outside the home or if you have a very physical job. I can't help you. Like, there's nothing I can tell you because that's not my life. That's not the life I live. I'm homebound. I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to do anything unless I want to. So it's much easier for me to fast, in a controlled environment. So, but yeah, you just have to power through. And I wish I had a better answer for you for that. But, you know, if you can take a nap, go take a nap. If you can just do something to take your mind off food, take your mind off food. I also think it's important that you're eating intuitively. If you're not already practicing that, that is something that I would encourage you to do. And that's basically just listening to your body's physical cues. And you may have to retrain your body and your brain to listen to your physical hunger cues. Because, you know, me especially, growing up, I was overfed by my grandmother basically from the moment we moved in with her until, you know, I moved out on my own. So it was a lot of, you know, food was her love language, and my mother would be awful to me, and then my grandmother would feed me to make me feel better. So I had basically been trained to eat when I didn't, like when things weren't going my way or when I felt awful. So, I mean, fasting like that really is the way to kind of have to break yourself of that habit. So, you know, and if you're ready to break your fast, break your fast. If you're physically hungry and the hunger is getting to the point where you can't handle it, break your fast. You know, I think that's the most important, is that you're doing this and you're listening to your body. And if your body is saying enough is enough, like I probably could have gone another 30 days fasting. But by day 21, I was mentally ready to be done with it because I just wasn't seeing what I wanted to see on the meter. And I was getting more and more frustrated. And I was like, okay, I'm getting to the point where this is not mentally viable. And that's why I stopped. Because literally, I probably could have fasted 100 days, 120 days, because I just wasn't hungry. But I didn't. So, you know, like I said, take a nap. And you know, journal. Even if you just sit down and write, you know, say something into your phone, like a voice note, get it out. Try to pinpoint what you're actually feeling, or if you're actually feeling hunger. I mean, and that's been something this week I'm like, okay, am I eating because I'm hungry, or am I just eating to eat? And that's still something that I will struggle with. I'll probably struggle with that for the entirety of my life, because it's just something that I was, you know, my body was trained to eat when it was sad, to eat when it was happy, to eat when, you know, things were stressful. So, you know, and I'm almost 43 years old, so that's a pattern of behavior that I've really had to try hard to break. But, you know, just cut yourself some slack, and if you fall off the wagon, get right back on it tomorrow. You know, maybe you broke a 4-day fast. Well, that doesn't mean that you can't start again. Start again. The app I use is called Zero, Zero. It only goes to 7 days. I know someone else mentioned another app. Let me see. Oh, this stupid meter losing its signal is going to drive me to ripping it out. Not really, but I want to. It's called Life. It's the other one. I haven't played around with it, but someone told me about that. But Zero, you don't have to sign into anything. But again, you can only set for 7 days. This says it's been 10 days since my last fast. So, and it's free. I really enjoy it. I also have my Dexcom meter, which normally shows me what my readings are, but it lost signal. So, and I've been using my Freestyle, my regular meter, to kind of make sure that they're the same. So I'm not poking myself 8 times a day, but I am using it as a backup meter. So yeah, that's how I deal with hunger. So Analog Writer said, does fasting impact your mental clarity, concentration at all? I didn't have any mental clarity during this fast. And I think, again, that also had a lot to do with the RA fatigue. And RA can cause brain fog too. Any autoimmune disease can cause brain fog. So I feel like if I were under control, basically it's in remission, I think my mental clarity would have been better. It took about 6 or 7 days during that 15-day fast for me to feel like I had some mental clarity and I could actually think. So it's not quick for me, and it's not consistent because of my other issues, but there were moments where I felt like, oh, okay, this is the mental clarity. I know her. We can be friends. The Real Brooke B said, what's the biggest lesson you learned during the fast, and what scared you the most about ending it? I think the biggest thing I learned during my fast is that my body reacts to any stupid little thing. There's no clear-cut answer as to why one day I'd wake up and my blood sugar would be 275 and the night before I was at 169 and I hadn't had anything to eat for 15 days. Or, coming off of the fast, just how much my body reacts to every little thing that you put in your mouth. I think those were the biggest lessons. I think also learning that I have to be more diligent about the medications that I take when it comes to being type 2 diabetic. Because for those of you who weren't around for my mycophenolate debacle, I started mycophenolate in September of 2017. That's also the month I stopped insulin because I'd been on keto since March of 2017 and I had gotten myself completely off insulin. Well, mycophenolate, also known as Cellcept, is a immune suppression therapy that can cause type 2 diabetes. Okay, start all over. Mycophenolate, which is also known as Cellcept, is an immune suppression therapy. It is mostly given to transplant patients so they don't reject their new organs. Unfortunately, one of its main side effects is hyperglycemia, to the point where transplant patients who take mycophenolate can develop type 2 diabetes. So by February of 2018, my blood sugars had started to become elevated for no reason. I couldn't figure it out because I was eating carnivore as zero carb as I could. The protein hadn't been an issue before, and it took me almost a year and a half to realize that it was the mycophenolate. And I swore I would never go through that again, and then I went on Humira and had the same damn issue. So that's another thing that I've learned, that I have to be the one that's diligent about the pills that I take. I have to be the one that asks the questions. That's like when I went to the doctor's office on Monday, she's like, how many injections have you had? And I said, I have had none. I said, because the last time when I started the new drug, I did it in office. And they're like, yeah, you're going to do it again, but you haven't ordered it. And I said, no. I said, because I want to make sure that I'm not going to have an issue with it before I pay $200 for a month's supply of it. So in reading through the Nimrol packaging, it does say something about letting your doctor know if you're diabetic, but I couldn't find anything that said anything about hyperglycemia. And that's the whole reason why I was going to fast this week, and then I ended up not fasting. So, and I realized even if I did fast this week, it's going to probably take 2 to 3 injections before my body starts responding to the therapy. So really, I'm not really missing out on any of the benefits right now. But yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing I learned is that any little thing will bother my body. And like everything tastes so different after you fasted for so long. The one I keep coming back to is sweeteners like stevia. I was always a 3 stevia packet to 20 ounce coffee kind of girl. 4 Splenda when I would get a Trenta iced coffee at Starbucks. And now I can do 1 to 2 packets of stevia. That's about as sweet as I can go. Same thing for Splenda or sucrose. I am even trying to stay away from it. So those are probably the biggest lessons I've learned. The thing that scared me the most was gaining the weight back, and I did it, and I'm living it. But I know, so the next question was, how much weight did you lose and regain after about a week? And that was Chimmy 93. So my 15-day fast, I regained about 10 pounds in a week. And that's kind of what I thought would happen with this fast. Unfortunately, I was incorrect and my body reacted to something. I don't know if my body's reacting to the Arctic cold front that we're getting here in Dallas. I don't know if it's reacting to something that I ate last week. I just don't know. But I'm basically up 33 pounds from where I was on the 31st of January. And, I talked to my rheumatologist about it. I talked to her nurse about it. I talked to my urologist about it. And we all know that it's not because I ate. I didn't gain 33 pounds of fat in a week. This is 100% water retention. So if you guys followed me and you saw my edema picture, the edema is completely different this time than that one. This time it's more, Like my feet aren't ballooned. It's not painful, thank goodness. They're wide, and like my legs are swollen, my feet are swollen. You can't see the veins or the bones in my feet anymore. But it's not where it was tight and big like it was before. So it's a very different type of edema than it was when I had the carb edema. But I still gained 33 pounds of fluid this fast. So yeah. So Jojo asked, was it 7 to 10 days before you burnt all the stored glucose? I honestly don't know this time. I felt in the 15-day fast like I knew when that happened, because my morning glucose was lower than it was when I went to bed, but I don't remember having that happening. But I was also fat adapted, so it should have already been happening. So I don't know. I wish I did know, but I didn't. So that's really all the questions that I had that I felt like I could really answer. We're going to talk about non-scale victories, then we'll talk about the weight. But my plan going forward is to start fasting on the 15th, which is Monday. And then I am going to try to go to my doctor's appointment, which is on the 23rd. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 6 weeks. Let's do the math. $36 days. So I'm going to try to fast for 36 days. Initially, I was going to fast for 14 days starting on Monday. But like I said, I woke up, my blood sugar was like in the 280s. I'd gained that 33 pounds back. And I was just frustrated. I basically had a meltdown on Instagram stories. Because I was just frustrated. It's like, it's been 7 days. What is going on with my body? So I just knew I wasn't mentally in the right space to fast. So I kind of regretted getting groceries on Monday because I was like, you know what? I probably could have started fasting yesterday. But I'm going to start on the 15th. You're welcome to join me if you want to. You can do however long that you want. Completely up to you. But I'm going to go for 36 days. And I'm going to go because, again, that's when my doctor's appointment is. I'm hoping that by the 3rd week or so, the Enebro will have kicked in and my inflammation markers will be coming down, which also means that my blood sugar should be coming down. I want to stay in a deep level of ketosis for a longer amount of time. I'm going to guess it's probably going to take me until Wednesday or Thursday to be back into a deep level of ketosis, and I want to see what happens if I stay in a deep level of ketosis for about a month to see what that changes. I'm also interested to see just how much more weight I can lose, because everybody keeps saying the more weight you lose, your blood sugar numbers should come down. And it's basically like having gastric bypass surgery without the bypass. So I would much rather try to do it this way than risk having surgery. It's just not worth it. Number one, it's not worth it because of COVID, but it's also not worth it because myasthenia patients have issues with anesthesia. And if you guys followed me during my back surgery, my biggest fear was not waking up. And I'm just not it's just not something I want to do. I mean, I know I can do it. If I cannot eat for 21 days, I cannot eat for 36 days. It'll be fine. Will it be hard? Probably, but I can do it. I know I can because I've done it, and I just need to put my mind to it. So that's my plan going forward. Feel free to join me. I'm thinking about doing Fat Girl Fast as a hashtag. I haven't decided yet. And like I said, I think I'm going to shoot for at least 30 days this time. We'll see how far I go. If I don't make it 30 days, I don't make it 30 days. If I can make it longer than 30 days, maybe I'll go longer than 30 days. I am keeping a close eye on things. I'm literally a block from my doctor if I need to go see him. So like I said, I keep up, I call, let them know what's going on. It's definitely something that I keep track of. So those are my plans going forward. So, that my results, are not what they were. I think give me a couple of days. I've already gone to the bathroom like 4 times today because I took an extra pill. And I'm going to do that for the next couple of days until the water weight's back down. And then I will weigh in officially on Monday. The weight, again, though, has never been the number one focus for me. It's always been about the blood sugar numbers. And now it's even going to be more about staying in a deep level of ketosis and making sure that I, am doing what I can do to do this in the most healthy way. So let's talk about non-scale victories. When I started this, my ketones were 0.1. The last day of my fast, my ketones were 5.2. They were high, and I felt so good. I felt so good. I felt so good, minus the other shit that's going on, but I felt good with my ketones at that level. My blood glucose, it did come down. I started at 348. That was my fasting glucose the morning that I started fasting. And then my morning glucose on the last day was 167. 167 is actually pretty dang good. It just wasn't as low and as consistent as I wanted it to be. I went from a 4X pant to a 2X pant. I'm now back up to 3X because I blew out the crotch in one of my 2Xs. So I wear the Just My Size fleece pants around the house. That's my home uniform. And I was wearing 4X, and then I bought a 3 and I bought a 2, and the 2s were too tight. So I bought 3s, and I was in those 3s for a week, and then I was in the 2s. I know once I get the water weight back off, I'll be back in the 2s. I also went from a 26 jean to a 22 jean. Like I said, my pant size went back up, so I was in the 24s. If they would make a 23, that would be the perfect pant size for me, but they don't. They're even numbers in women's sizes. And I wear the Old Navy high-rise skinny jeans. If they stop making those, I will buy 2 pair in every single size because I love them so much. I am an apple, I have skinny legs, and there's nothing I hate worse than pant legs that are this wide when I have this legs. And my shirt size went from a 4 to a 2X. So I picked up some new, I don't know if you guys just saw how large those other t-shirts were. I think those were 5s. And they were in my wear around the house drawer. So I bought 5 or 6 new shirts from Target. These are 3. I could have gone with a 2, but I didn't. I also picked up a couple of new sweatshirts in 5s. I bought men's 5X because I wanted them big. They're way too big. So I did lose quite a few inches. I wasn't measuring. I may try to measure this weekend to have measurements and also the scale going forward. So those are all of my non-scale victories. So let's talk about the scale. So January 2nd, I weighed in at 389 pounds. On January 9th, which was the first day of my fast, I had already lost 12 pounds and I was 377 pounds. On January the 31st, on my last day of the fast, I was 337 pounds. When I weighed on Monday, I was back up to 370. So that's why I said I gained 33 pounds. 337 pounds is the lowest I've been since 2006. When I was diagnosed with diabetes, I was like 420 pounds and I got down to 330 or 320, I can't remember, but I am basically that weight that I was back in 2006. So that was a total of 52 pounds in January and 40 pounds for the 21 days of the fast. And again, like I said, yes, I gained 33 pounds, but I bet all but 5 of it is water weight that will hopefully be off in the next couple of days. And like I said, 52 pounds in the month of January. I don't expect those kind of numbers going forward. This is not something that I meant to do all the time. Like I had talked about it in one of my videos during that fast that I would probably do alternate day fasting and then maybe once a quarter do like a 14-day fast to kind of do the autophagy and clean the pipes out, so to speak, and keep going. The only reason why I'm doing this now is because my blood sugars still aren't where I hope they will be. And again, stopping my body from having an insulin response is going to be what I have to do in order to help them come down any way that I can. So that's it. I hope this video was helpful. I know it was hella long. If you guys are interested in me filming a video kind of talking you through how I got myself ready to fast, what I think you need to do to fast, how to make it through a fast, let me know. I'm more than happy to do that. I'm also dealing with a burn. I don't know if you guys can see it. It was a witch's hat, but I was doing some bulk cooking last weekend for Rob, and I asked him to grab a lid, and I just said, oh, just set it on this burner. And neither one of us realized that the lid went into the flame, and I accidentally touched it to my arm. I probably got a third-degree burn, but I didn't realize that until a few days later. So this is also something that was keeping my blood sugars elevated. I was worried it was getting infected. It didn't. I put Neosporin on it. I kept it covered, was changing the dressing every day. So it's now scabbed over. Now it's just really itchy, but that's also had to contribute to what my, the reason why my blood sugar was elevated. So this week I'm having salad. I never got my salad last week. I was like, I want a salad, and never got it. I made the potato salad again. If you want to see that, the recipe is over on my Instagram. I basically found a recipe for southern mustard potato salad or something like that, and just substituted raw cauliflower instead of the potatoes. I'm gonna have salad. I think I mentioned that. I'm making keto pigs in a blanket again because for some reason that just sounds delicious. I'm making stuffed poblanos. That also sounds delicious. So I have a few things. Hopefully I can get all of that eaten by Monday and be ready to fast again. But if I don't, then it may be a couple of days. But if you follow me here on YouTube, or follow me on Facebook or Instagram, I will post what day. I will also be filming that again. I feel like that really helps keep me accountable, and it shows you guys and helps, you guys, and you're always free to answer or ask me questions, whatever you need, and I'll do my best to answer them. Again, this is not medical advice. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm just some fat girl on the internet trying to figure her body out. And this seems to be working when it's working. It's not when it's not. So I'm still counting this fast as a win. I'm still counting 52 pounds lost in January. We'll see what happens for the month of February. Like I said, I will weigh in officially on Monday the 15th, and we'll go from there. But thank you so much for joining me. I really love you. You guys have been awesome. I responded to the 4 people who won. I've only heard back from one of you guys. I know Odd Foss TV was one person. If you were close to 337, there were 4 of you. I responded to you on day 1, so make sure you go check your comments so I can get your prizes in the mail to you. But that's it, guys. Like I said, let me know if you want to fast along with me. You can do the whole 36 days. You can do, 72 hours, whatever. It's completely up to you. Just make sure that you're being safe and you're following your doctor's orders. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.